Welcome to photosNtravel, a show that introduces you to fascinating places around the world. Please welcome our host and tour guide, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going on a fantastic journey through the entire country of Italy. We did a show 3 years ago on Venice and Florence and had so many people asking about the rest of the country that we decided to dedicate an entire episode to this beautiful land. We're going to start with Venice in the north, make our way to Rome, and then the Amalfi Coast. From there, we'll head down to the heel of the boot and end up in the beautiful island of Sicily. We'll begin our adventure right after these messages.
It's about your brand, and at PP Print, we can help create promotional products and apparel that will put you above your competition. PP Print, more than just print.
Not all Canadians have the time nor desire to manage their finances, and often that responsibility is up to financial professionals. Our goal is to help Canadian families achieve a happy and successful financial future. Visit us, the McClellan Financial Group of Asante Capital Management.
As I mentioned, we're going to begin our adventure in Venice, where we'll explore the bridges, the canals, and of course, St. Mark's Square. After landing at the airport, it's a short water taxi ride to get to St. Mark's Square. I met my guide, Giannis, and we started to explore the area. St. Mark's Square was built in the 1100s as the central government seat for the Republic of Venice, which thrived until 1797 when it surrendered to Napoleon. The square is the most visited part of Venice with up to 20 million tourists a year pre-pandemic times. This is nearly half of all the annual visitors to the entire country. The city of Venice is situated on a group of islands numbering about 117. They are separated by canals and linked by bridges. It's located in the marshy Venetian lagoon, which stretches along the shoreline between the mouths of the Po and the Piave River. Venice is renowned for the beauty of its setting, its architecture, its artwork, and of course, its pigeons. The entire city, as well as its lagoon, is listed as a World Heritage Site and is known as the Amsterdam of the South. The bell tower of St. Mark's Cathedral is one of the most recognizable symbols of this city and stands surprisingly separate from the church with the same name. The tower is nearly 100 meters or 300 feet tall and is home to a belfry which houses 5 bells and offers stunning views of the city. Construction at the tower began in the 9th century and was completed in 1549. In 1902, the entire tower collapsed due to a fault in design, but it was quickly rebuilt. Next to St. Mark's Basilica is the Doge's Palace, built in a Venetian Gothic style in 1172, and one of the main landmarks of the city of Venice. The palace was the residence of the Doge or Magistrate, the supreme authority of the Republic of Venice. A corridor led me over the Bridge of Sighs, built in 1614 to link the Doge's Palace to a structure intended to house new prisoners. The bridge received its name from the sighs the prisoners would emit as they saw their last view of freedom when they glimpsed the lagoon through the small windows. Of course, no trip to Venice is complete without a traditional gondola ride. The gondola is a flat-bottomed boat, well-suited to the conditions of the Venetian lagoons. It is propelled like punting, except an oar is used instead of a pole. For centuries, gondolas were the chief means of transportation and most common watercraft within Venice. They are driven by a gondolier, and although the iconic boats still play a part in the public transport on the Grand Canal, their primary goal today is to carry tourists at a fixed rate of €80 or $110 for 40 minutes. More than 500 gondolas travel the 50 kilometers or 30 miles of waterways drifting under 409 bridges along 177 canals in this city with a population of 272,000. And of course, a trip to the Grand Canal, the main waterway of the city, is a must-see. It is the main recipient of all the canals and leads into St. Mark's Basin. It is lined with more than 170 buildings, most of which date back to the 13th century. Stopping at local markets is a way of life for visitors and residents alike, and everything from clothing to fruit and vegetables can be purchased. Freshness is always guaranteed. Of course, being a seaside city, Venice markets offer a variety of freshly caught fish. From Venice, I continue to Verona, the home of several Shakespearean tragedies. Verona, with its 700,000 inhabitants, is one of the main tourist destinations in northern Italy. I visited the ancient amphitheater built by the Romans around 30 CE. The theater could seat some 25,000 spectators in its 44 tiers of marble seats, but only a fragment of the original outer wall in white and pink limestone remains. The interior is virtually intact and is used regularly for public events and open-air opera during the warm summer nights. Verona was the setting for Shakespeare's tragedy Romeo and Juliet, a fictional story based on ancient Italian literature. The alleged house of the famous Juliet was an overgrown ruin, which was restored in 1905 by the city as a tourist destination. The famous balcony was added in 1928 by a film studio to promote a filmed version of the Shakespeare play. Thousands of visitors walk here daily to touch the bronze statue, ensuring their love wishes will be fulfilled. From Verona, I continued on to Florence, the world capital of art and culture. The buildings of this spectacular city are amazing, including this, the Palazzo Strozzi, regarded as the most beautiful Renaissance building in Florence. One of my favorite churches was the Cathedral of the Holy Trinity, founded in the middle of the 11th century. I enjoyed the Sassi chapel with its painting depicting the birth of Christ, which dates back to 1585. It was so enjoyable to walk along the Arno River with views of the famous Ponte Vecchio bridge. This medieval stone-closed bridge is noted for having stores built along its side. Butchers initially occupied the shops, but the present tenants are jewelers, art dealers, and souvenir sellers. During World War II, this was the only bridge not destroyed by the Germans, allegedly due to an express order by Adolf Hitler because of its historical importance. Florence is of course best known for its art galleries, especially the Uffizi Gallery, which is home to many beautiful paintings by the great masters. I visited the Accademia Gallery where Michelangelo's famous statue of David stands. Just outside the gallery is the Palazzo Vecchio, or Old Palace, which is the town hall of Florence. This massive Romanesque fortress is among the most impressive town halls in Tuscany. It overlooks the main square and the gallery of statues in the adjacent Loggia de Lanzi, with its copy of Michelangelo's statue of David, a 1910 replica which was commissioned to replace the original statue when it was moved into the Accademia Gallery to protect it. By far, the most impressive cathedral in Florence is that of Santa Maria del Fiore, or St. Mary of the Flower, located in the center of the city. It is the main church of Florence and was completed in 1436, after 150 years of construction. The exterior of the basilica is faced with polychrome marble panels in various shades of green and pink bordered by white. Across the street from the basilica is the baptistry of St. John, renowned for its 3 sets of artistically important bronze doors with relief sculptures. The doors are by Michelangelo as he depicts the gates of paradise. This entire area is now home to many would-be artists. The views from Michelangelo Plaza, high atop the hill of San Miniato, are spectacular, with St. Mary's Basilica stealing the show. And of course, there is no end to shopping in this wonderful Tuscan city, known for shoes, jewelry, and of course, leather goods. Florence was also the home of a famous author, Carlo Collodi, who wrote the story of Pinocchio in 1813. My next destination was the city of Siena, with its shell-shaped Piazza del Campo, or town square, which houses the public palace as well as the Tower of Food. It is another architectural treasure and is famous for hosting the Palio di Siena, a traditional medieval horse race run around the Piazza del Campo twice a year. The event is attended by large crowds and is widely televised. Here we see the Fountain of Joy, built in 1419. It is the endpoint for a system of conduits which bring water to the entire city. Siena is a haven for shoppers and foodies. The Cathedral of Santa Maria is the largest church in Siena and has the form of a Latin cross. The bell tower has 6 bells, the oldest of which was cast in 1149. The cathedral itself is 800 years old. On my way to Rome, I passed through the town of Assisi, made famous by St. Francis, founder of the Franciscan Friars. My first stop as I entered the capital city was the Spanish Steps, a monumental stairway of 135 steps built with French funds in 1725. This is the famous Trevi Fountain, constructed in 1629. Legend has it that thirsty Roman soldiers were guided by a girl to a source of pure water 13 kilometers from the city. Emperor Augustus commissioned the construction of a 20-kilometer aqueduct into Rome, ending at what is now the Trevi Fountain. It is difficult to miss the massive national monument of Victor Emmanuel, the first king of a united Italy. Most Roman postcards include the Roman Forum, a rectangular plaza surrounded by the ruins of several important ancient government buildings. The Forum was for centuries the center of Roman public life. It served as a place for public speeches, criminal trials, and gladiator matches. Probably the most famous building in Rome is the Colosseum, which attracts 4.5 million visitors every year. Built of concrete and stone, it is the largest amphitheater in the world and is considered one of the greatest works of Roman architecture and engineering. Construction began in 70 BCE and was completed 150 years later. The Colosseum could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators. My next stop is the Vatican, a separate country in the center of Catholicism. I made my way back to the museum and visited a few of the 54 different galleries in the 16th century building. Beautiful artwork surrounded by intricate ceilings and floors was everywhere. Viewing the Sistine Chapel can only be done in organized tours. Tickets should be purchased in advance, but visiting it is an amazing experience. It is hard to believe that Michelangelo spent 6 years of his life laying on his back painting this famous ceiling. St. Peter's Basilica is the largest church in the world and the center of faith for the 1.2 billion Catholics on the planet. Here we see the Pope's apartments, where every Sunday he blesses worshippers. The Bible states that Peter, one of Christ's apostles, went to Rome to preach and was crucified for his teachings. His followers built a shrine, the remnants of which date back to 64 CE. It is on the site of the original chapel that in 1506 the present cathedral was constructed. Rome is such a beautiful city with so much to offer. Of course, I loved Venice and Florence with all their art and architecture, and those canals were amazing. After these messages, we'll continue our trek of Italy, heading south and ending in Sicily.
At Voss, your independent grocer, it's all about hometown living and shopping. Owned and operated by Port Perry's own Terry and Christine Voss, the independent grocer carries many local items to support our town and its residents. Pet Value has a fleet of services to help you and your pet live their very best lives. Visit Pet Value Port Perry for all of your pet's needs. Pet Value, your pet, your store.
In this segment, we'll leave the historic Rome area and head toward the Amalfi Coast, stopping briefly in Sorrento, where a parade blocked traffic, forcing me to spend the night, which is not a big challenge as this is a beautiful part of Italy. After a restful night in Sorrento, I continued along the beautiful coastline where the sun was beaming down. In the distance, I could see the Amalfi Coast, which, like the rest of the region, lies in a Mediterranean climate consisting of warm summers and mild winters. The only land route to the Amalfi Coast is a 40-kilometer-long winding road with treacherous curves and steep slopes. The Amalfi region is known for its production of limoncello, a popular liqueur, as the area is a known cultivator of lemons, which are grown in terraced gardens along the entire coast, usually between February and October. I was excited as we neared Naples and the historic site of Pompeii, a place I was really looking forward to visiting. The eruption of nearby Mount Vesuvius in 79 BCE happened so quickly that everyone was taken by surprise. All the city's inhabitants were killed instantly and buried under tons of ash. Evidence of their destruction came from a surviving letter written by author Pliny the Younger. He saw the eruption from a distance and described the death of his uncle, who was an admiral of the Roman fleet and was desperately trying to save and rescue citizens of the doomed village. The site was lost for about 1,500 years until its rediscovery in 1599. The objects that lay beneath the city have been well preserved for centuries because there's been no air or moisture. These artifacts provide an extraordinarily detailed insight into the life of a city during the Roman era. During the excavation, plaster was used to fill the voids between the ash layers that once held human bodies. This allowed one to see the exact position the person was in when he or she died. Pompeii has been a tourist destination for 250 years. Today it has UNESCO World Heritage status and is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Italy. The amphitheater, erected around 80 BCE, is the earliest Roman amphitheater known to have been built of stone. Previously, they had all been made of wood. It was built by private funds, and its design is seen by modern crowd control specialists as near optimal. Its washroom is being cited as an inspiration for better bathroom designs in modern stadiums. I say farewell to the west coast and head southeast to the Adriatic Sea and the coastal town of Bari. It is the second most important economic center of mainland southern Italy after Naples, and is well known for its university as well as the city of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas Square is home to the cathedral of the same name and is the final resting place of St. Nicholas. The basis for the church is related to the stealing of some of the relics of St. Nicholas from the saint's original shrine in Myra, in what is now Turkey. A handful of people saw an opportunity to engage in a clandestine maneuver and steal the saint's relics and move them to a more hospitable location. What happened was, St. Nicholas, when visiting Bari on a previous occasion, told the people he wanted to be buried there. Because he was born in Turkey, however, his wishes were overridden by the government of the day, and that's why he was initially buried in Myra, or Turkey. There was great competition for the relics between Venice and Bari. The latter won, and the relics were carried off under the noses of the Turkish custodians and their Muslim masters. On May 9, 1087, the remains were secured in Bari, where a new church was built to shelter St. Nicholas' remains. Pope Urban II was present at the consecration of the crypt in 1089. My next stop was the very different village of Alberobello. Extremely unique houses make this a very worthwhile place to visit on the outskirts of Bari. I happened upon a town with a population of 11,000 inhabitants during market day, which was a fun time to visit. Alberobello is famous for its unique Trulli constructions, and these dwellings are the reason the village is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. A trulli, the plural of which is trullo, is a traditional stone hut with a conical roof. They were generally constructed as temporary field shelters and storehouses, or as permanent dwellings by small proprietors or agricultural laborers. The 19th century buildings were a result of the need to build a cistern in the house, as the area was totally void of water. The stones removed from the cistern were used to construct the conical roof. The vast majority of trullo have one room under each conical roof with additional living spaces in the arch recesses. Children would sleep in the alcoves made in the walls with curtains hung in front. Even the church is constructed in this manner. I could have stayed a lot longer in this picturesque town of Alberobello, but there is so much more to see in the spectacular land. My next stop was the historical town of Matera, with roots dating back to prehistoric times from the very first settlers in Italy. The town square is the center of activity as well as being lined with restaurants and boutiques. It is also the location for the entrance to the underground caverns, or Sassi, as the underground city is called. The Sassi are houses that have been dug into the rock itself. Many are really only caverns, some of which are located on the rooftops above other houses. The ancient town grew in height on one of the slopes of the ravine created by a river, which is now just a small stream. In the 1950s, in the last phase of developing the modern city, the government forcefully relocated most of the population from the Sassi area, citing the old structures were no longer safe to live in. My last stop on the mainland of Italy was the town of Calabria, which forms the toe of the Italian peninsula. Here in Rosetta stands remnants of the Church of the Immaculate Conception built in the 15th century. After a short wait, I boarded the ferry to cross the Strait of Messina and visit the island of Sicily. My first stop was the town of Taormina, a picturesque village with many shops, cafes, and boutiques. It is a favorite haunt for vacationers and locals alike. Taormina was first settled nearly 3,000 years ago, but did not gain popularity as a resort town until the mid-1800s. I climbed the hill to visit the ancient amphitheater, which is by far the most notable monument in Sicily, mainly because of its remarkable preservation and beautiful location. It is built for the most part of brick and is therefore probably of Roman times, even though the plan is in accordance with those which are normally Greek. It is the second largest of its kind in Sicily and is frequently used for operatic and theatrical performances in concerts. Strolling through the streets offers an opportunity to meet local buskers. My visit to Sicily took me through small villages passing by the large Cathedral of St. Mary of Providence, which is nearly 300 years old. It suffered severely under several earthquakes and was reopened in 1997. The area was also a place to enjoy some ocean scenery and stop at a quiet cafe for some great espresso before tackling the slopes of Mount Etna, Italy's most active volcano. After a slow, lengthy drive up the mountain, as far as a car could travel, I continued my next leg by cable car. From there, a bus took me to the very top of this 3,300 meter or 11,000 foot volcano. Mount Etna is one of the most active volcanoes in the world and is in an almost constant state of activity. The surrounding volcanic soil supports extensive agriculture with vineyards and orchards spread across the lower slopes of the mountain. For some reason, thousands of ladybugs gather here and make their home on the summit, perhaps attracted by the heat. After a lengthy visit and lots of exploration, I descended the mountain to continue my adventure as I trekked on to the city of Catania. With its population of 300,000, Catania has been crushed by 3 earthquakes, all due to the eruptions of Mount Etna. Being a picturesque seaside town, it attracts many tourists, and the fresh fish in the market caters to residents and visitors alike. The obelisk in front of the municipal building features a statue of an elephant, which is a symbol of Catania. Legend tells how this area was once inhabited by pygmy elephants who protected the citizens by keeping dangerous animals at bay. The beautiful cathedral is dedicated to Saint Agatha, the patron saint of the city. My next stop in Sicily was the seaside town of Noto, with a historic main street lined with grandiose buildings and cafes. For me, this was a great opportunity to enjoy another ice cream. Noto was famous for its fine buildings of the early 18th century, considered among the main masterpieces of Sicilian Baroque-style architecture. It is a place of many religious buildings as well as several palaces. My last stop in Italy was the ancient Greek city of Syracuse, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This city is comprised of many narrow winding streets lined with homes, shops, and restaurants. The surrounding seaside has turned Syracuse into a playground for the sun worshippers from all over Europe. Beautiful balconies on centuries-old buildings make this one of the most picturesque areas in Italy, and wandering the streets, enjoying the sights, was a great way to spend my last day in this historic Mediterranean country. Unfortunately, that brings our adventure in Italy to an end. What a fantastic country! Being able to visit Venice and Florence is of course spectacular, but seeing Bari and the East Coast was also fantastic. And what about Sicily and climbing Mount Etna? What an experience! For Photos and Travel, I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen. It's been my pleasure to be your tour guide today, and I look forward to our next adventure. If you enjoyed this program, please click the subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode.
Want to know what's happening in Skugog? News and lifestyle, changes in business, and all the entertainment information you'll ever need. Plus, each edition has a new Photos and Travel article. Look for your next copy in your mailbox.
At thestandardnewspaper.ca, we try to spread the good news. Even in tough times, we accept the challenge of keeping you informed. So from local contests to local happenings, let's show our support for all those who keep our communities strong.